Hey, welcome back to the channel. Do you have a Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, or even a Game Boy Advance that simply won't turn on? Well, in today's video, we take a look at a Game Boy Pocket that came to us because it wouldn't turn on. All of the previously mentioned systems have similar problems, whether it's a cap that it's gone bad on the power supply or just a dirty slide switch. So, we're going to go through the steps on how to diagnose what the actual problem is, and if you stick around, we'll show you how to get that done. All right, on the bench today, we have a Game Boy Pocket. This one came to me because, well, it wasn't turning on. And I decided to do a quick video on this one because it is kind of an issue with Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advanced, both the SP and the Standard, where they don't turn on even though, you know, maybe your battery contacts are clean, but the switch itself is dirty. And 9 times out of 10, all we gotta do is take it apart, get some alcohol down on that switch, run it back and forth, and it's cleaned. Every once in a while, the switch is actually bad, and there are some switches available. They're not the best fit, but they will work. You just have to watch how they're installed. And finally, on the Pocket, there is occasionally times where we've got a shorted capacitor and it is shutting down our power supply. And of course, in our clear one, you can see the power supply board right there. So I haven't cracked this open. I don't know what's wrong with it exactly, but I figure we could just go through it together and see what we come up with. Since this was supplied to me with batteries, we may as well just check the batteries real quick. Just make sure that, you know, we're not chasing our tails. So these should be, you know, 1.5 volts or so, and they are. Yeah, both of them are good fresh batteries. So the next thing we're gonna do, see if we can get any signs of life. This cartridge was supplied. We might as well use it just because. And since it's the customer's cartridge, you know, we'll give it a cleaning. And yeah, it needed a little bit of love. And of course, we'll clean the cartridge slot too. That's way over here. There we go. You know, it's funny is I've been using this this cartridge cleaning kit, which is a vintage one, but you know, hey, it works, in the shop for a while now. And at the local used game store, because of how crazy the collector's market has gotten, he has one of these sealed in the box, and he sent it out for grading, and he actually has it on the shelf right now for $200. It's just amazing what some of these collectors will pay for, you know, sealed graded cartridges and devices. So our batteries are in and we get nothing. All right, so let's go ahead and pop this thing apart and see what we're up against. Now, if nobody's been messing with it, this should have tri-wings in the back, which it does. A lot of times you see me put a paper towel down on this mat whenever I'm working on customers' systems like this, or if I've got a laser, but you know, this one's not in great shape, so I'm not worried about getting smudges and whatnot on it. You know, once we bring it back to life, if the customer wants it reshelled or, you know, even a new lens installed, you know, we could do that for them. But I think in this case, they just want one that runs. So there we go. Screws are out. Back is off. So we got a bit of dust. And I don't see any damage. There's no signs of water intrusion or corroded contacts or anything like that. Let's, for giggles, let's just go ahead and check the caps right now. So we can either rule it out or, see if that's our possible problem. All right, you've seen me use this a few times before. This is an ESR meter, and it's kind of a nice little device. It allows us to check capacitors in circuit. And while we don't have the exact spec for these capacitors, it'll give us a good idea. A lot of these little surface mount caps, they should be in the magnitude of, somewhere in tenths of an ohm. You might get one that's at 1 ohm. But generally speaking, they should be fairly low values. So let's see, what do we got? Yeah, 0.045, it's not shorted. 0.09. Let's see if we can sneak in here. 2.8, that's 100 microfarad 6-volt cap. It sounds a little high, but it's not crazy. 2.4. All right. So those caps look like they're probably okay. So, but if not, we can come back and replace those ones. Let's go ahead and turn this off. And we're just gonna focus on the switch. Chances are that's really all that's wrong. So the easiest way to deal with it is to wet up a cotton swab and push some alcohol right down into the switch. Hold it tight, the little top's kind of flexible, and just run it back and forth. You'd be amazed how many times this is all that it needs. And we'll put a little more alcohol in it. And we'll run it back and forth a little bit. Don't put a lot of pressure on top of this switch, just enough to kind of push the contacts together. It's a real lightweight switch. Basically, if you ever take one of these apart, there's two sets of rails, and they're segmented. And then on the plastic part that's actually sliding back and forth, there's a small channel. And as you can imagine, it's fairly thin, so you don't want to crush them. You just want to put enough pressure on it to where they're going to polish themselves. And the alcohol helps with that. So let's go ahead and get our power supply on, and we'll hook it up. We're set for 5 volts. We don't want 5 volts. We want 3 volts and about 1 amp. And this is our negative. And oops, we don't want to short anything. This is our negative. This is our positive. Well, see if we get anything now. We still do not get anything. Oh, well, it would help to turn the helps to turn the actual supply on. And there we go. Unfortunately, this one's got a line down the screen. So that's going to bring us into another video, although I'm almost positive I've got Game Boy Pocket screens around, and I know the customer wanted it fixed. So, you know what? Give me a minute. I'm going to see if I have some old parts laying around. All right, sorry for the interruption. Yeah, I went through my parts bucket, and I actually found another screen for a Pocket. I've had a few come through that the motherboards were rotten, gotten wet, sitting in damp basements or attics or whatever. So let's go ahead and give this one a try. I just popped the bail, but more or less, all you have to do is you lift the 2 tabs on these sides, and then the ribbon will come out. And then we can Slide that screen in, and clip it in place, and carefully turn it this way, and we get our power supply leads back. Red to positive, black to negative. And turn on our supply this time. Turn on our switch. There we go. We have sound. Looks like the screen's clear, no lines in that one. So, since we have the part, we will just go ahead and swap it out for the customer. Like I said, just pull the two brackets, screen comes right out. Now to get the board out, we just have a few Phillips screws. And since, you know, we're going this deep, we'll go ahead and clean the membranes in the board just to make sure everything's good for the customer when it gets back to them. Now, I know I've made a video on how to take care of lines on a standard Game Boy, and matter of fact, I'll link that up here. But on the Game Boy Pocket, it's not really able to be done, just because of the way the system is set up. These ribbons are, you know, this bottom ribbon's hard to get to just because of the way this double overlaps, and I've never had a successful try on this one. So to get this screen out, we'll clean this board in a second. All you have to do is twist the shell. And it usually comes right up off the tape. We can get under it. Since this screen's damaged, normally, well, I'm still going to use plastic, but you know, since this one's damaged, you don't have to worry about too much about, you know, pulling on anything. And let's see if we can clean this screen at all. I don't think I have any more pocket lenses at the moment, but we want to make sure there's no fingerprints or dust on it. Actually, it's not in too bad a shape. Just a few little scuffs. All right, since that's out, we can just set our other screen back in. And the tape that's in there should hold it in place. So there's that. And since we got this apart, we'll go ahead and clean our buttons and our membranes and just try to make it a little bit more presentable for the customer. Now, normally, if I didn't have to go this deep, I wouldn't bother with a cleanup, or I would, you know, charge for the cleanup. But, you know, in this case, we're going to be charging them for a screen and some basic labor. Oh, yeah, that one's pretty rough. This is our start and our select switch. This one looks like it was, you can see, looks like it was somewhere, you know, dusty and a little dirty. But, you know, that happens. You know, my own personal collection, you know, whenever I went off to school, off to, you know, college, a lot of the stuff got stashed, and you don't think about it, especially when you're a teenager. All right, then on our board, just make sure there's no, you can see there's a little bit of the old carbon from the pads that has stuck down. There we go. Our speaker was working. So to put this back together, you just slide the ribbon in, set our board back into place. Make sure the speaker's down. And then get our screws back in. You have to do this off the table, just otherwise, you know, you're trying to fight the buttons. So you need to kind of pick it up to let the buttons droop. And it's the same in all these Game Boys. And honestly, any kind of controller that has, you know, the membrane buttons. So pretty much all of them. And just like in the other videos, Nintendo has been nice. They actually show you where these screws go. I'll show you in just a second. The 3 screws, you can see the little white paint ring that went around them. So now we can make sure our bail's the whole way up. Make sure that ribbon is in nice and square. And latch it down. Since we already tested the screen and we cleaned out the switch, just go ahead and put this one back together. And remember, this has got tri-wings in the back. Can't tell you how many times I've picked up, you know, I've got tape around my Phillips just to distinguish it, you know, between the two. But I can't tell you how many times I've picked up the wrong screwdriver and it's, you know, hopping and I think, you know, it doesn't look destroyed and it's not stripped out. I just simply have the wrong one and it's not going down into the screw. So it happens to everybody. Now, unfortunately, in my parts, I don't have an extra battery door, but the things like that can be ordered off of eBay quick and fairly cheap. Even Amazon will have them. And I believe the game store that I kind of go through, they usually keep doors in stock. So, if everything went right, we'll get the batteries in, we'll get the cartridge in, we'll flip it over, and all right, Konami. Looks like we're working. Of course, probably can't see it because this isn't an IPS screen. So, anyway, I know that was a quick one and, you know, it was kind of a simple fix, but it just goes to show that sometimes, you know, they come in and you're not exactly sure what's going to be wrong with them. And even if you're working on your own stuff at home, you know, sometimes you just got to take it apart, check a few things. And yeah, this meter to check for bad caps isn't necessarily cheap, but, you know, you can at least eliminate, if you've got a basic multimeter, you can check for continuity across the switch if you clean it and you're still not getting any power. But there you go. That's a simple one for today, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you can give us that thumbs up. But if you can't, and you give us a thumbs down, please make a comment. Tell us what we can do different. And don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell down below to tell you whenever we got new videos popping up. I appreciate you being here today. We'll catch you on the next video. Thanks.